This episode is brought to you by PwC. When unprecedented times are all the time, it's time to start walking the talk. Leaders like you turn to PwC to see and stay ahead. Upskill your workforce, use intelligent automation, and transform big ideas into breakthrough reinvention. Explore the human-led tech-powered solutions that help you reinvent. It's all part of the new equation. Learn more at pwc.com.
Hi everybody, and welcome to the Dr. Psych Mom Show. Today I'm going to be talking about a topic that I've touched upon in earlier podcasts, but you know, the odds that you guys listen to 2 years worth of stuff are low, you know? So we're going to talk about when your wife stops trying as she ages. And before we get to that, I'll tell you to subscribe. My most recent subscriber episode was the quote, "I don't want to leave because I would lose half my money." And this made guys very angry when I, from my mind, disproved it on the internet in a video. But you can listen to me talk about that and why that may not be as accurate as you think, particularly when you don't have kids in the house anymore. Anyway, so let's move on. When your wife stops trying as she ages. So if you've listened to all my stuff on menopause, you understand that your wife changes vastly in menopause. Her hormones go away. Her fertility wanes. You know, if she stays on some sort of hormonal replacement therapy, then it's not as dramatic, but that is, not everybody, and not everybody wants to do it, and not everybody can do it without side effects, and not everybody, decides to do that with their doctor. And, it's the same as hair plugs. Like, not all men decide to do that, Like, a lot of them are just like, well, this is who I am. I'm bald, that's where I'm at. My dad was bald, now I'm bald. And point being that most women will, I don't know. I mean, I don't know the statistics. I assume most women don't go on HRT, but who knows? Let's talk about the ones who don't. Let's even talk about the ones who do, right? Because even if you go on HRT, you're still getting older. And the way that trying is, interpreted is very, very different by many different men, right? It's not like one thing means that your wife is trying. So let's talk about some of the things that happen. Women stop wearing heels because their feet hurt. They may stop wearing underwire bras because it hurts. I mean, I don't know if you guys know. If you're a woman, you certainly know. But if you're a man, you don't know. It hurts to wear the underwire bra all the time. It's not super comfortable. By underwire, I mean the bra, the thing that looks like a bra with cups, that doesn't look just like a top half of a tank top that looks, the thing that has the U shapes for support underneath the breast. It's uncomfortable, right? Heels are uncomfortable. At a certain point, makeup, you're like, fuck it. It doesn't make me look much different anyway at this point, right? So hair dyeing. A lot of women stop dyeing their hair in menopause. Dyeing your hair is incredibly onerous. Like, it's constant. Once you start having grays, you're always having to dye it. The shit involved in being a woman. It's so funny. I have some younger clients and, obviously I read on the internet, etc. There's this whole idea now about the labor being put in that's so vastly different between women and men in terms of getting up to go to work. And women are saying that's why they should telework. I think this whole thing, by the time I hear about it, it's probably been being said by younger people for like 10 years. But either way, I think it would be interesting, as my listeners generally share my age, that it's so funny that it's being talked about. But it's fucking true, right? I mean, it takes a woman so much longer to get ready, not because, women, they're just, can't concentrate or like whatever. It's like literally, you have to put on makeup, you have to do your hair, you have to blow your hair. The whole armor that you have to put on is more and more the older you get, to look somewhat near the same. And so at a certain point, women are like, why? What am I doing it for? And so then the guy is like, because I think it's attractive. And she's like, well, you know what? Your opinion is one piece of data. And then there's all these other pieces of data that I hate doing this literally. Really hate it. So I often use the analogy of if a man said that he's ready to retire and the woman was like, but I just like your income. No, I don't want you to ever retire. I just like it. And so if you're a guy that would do that, Well, then, yeah, I guess, like, if you're a guy who would, like, never retire because your wife told you not to because she loves to spend your money, then you honestly probably are partnered with a woman who will continue to put on makeup and do stuff like that forever because you guys may be more kind of outward image focused, like having a lot of money, looking a certain way. But if your wife is somebody who would never say that, then, and she expects you to retire at some point, she expects you to change over time, and that's what this is really about, then she's like, why would you want me to continue doing things that no longer feel fun, that no longer make me feel good, even after you do all the dressing up, you don't feel like you used to. You don't feel like, oh, now I'm hot shit. I could go into that bar and get any guy I wanted if I wanted to, which is, how some women think if they used to be women who went out a lot and felt like that. You don't feel like that. You just feel like, well, here's a bunch of shit I got to do to go out, And so this is the age where a lot of women start wearing like fun earrings, I remember when I was a little girl in my apartment building was a woman. She was a kindergarten teacher. She was pretty old. And so she always had the earrings for every, everything, every season, every holiday, every month. And like at a certain point, and she loved that I loved it. And of course she loved that her children loved it. But I think by that point she was retired. So then she loved that I loved it. And, that's basically what you start doing in terms of fashion. The fashion is originally supposed to make you look sexy. But if you don't feel sexy and you feel, in fact, post-sexual, then it feels discordant. It feels like how you might feel as like a 50-year-old man going into like a frat meeting. It's like you're gonna look at that plate. You're gonna want those boys to clean up. You're gonna think most of them should be studying. You're gonna think some of them have an alcohol problem. You're gonna worry about them. You're gonna feel like a father to those boys. So at a certain point, you feel like a mother to not only your own children, many of whom may look exactly like how you looked when you were young, if you have girls, and that's really sobering, right? To be like, oh, that's what a young version looks like of me, not me. So while most women do continue to try to look fashionable in whatever way that means to them, and certainly neat and clean, and that they at a certain point you stop trying to look sexy. And that just makes sense. If you are an 80-year-old woman trying to look sexy, most people would say that that's very, very unusual, right? So then back it out, right? So then a 70-year-old woman, a 60-year-old woman, at whatever point the woman stops feeling like this sexy image makes sense to her and feels like her reality, then she's going to resent you if you still want her to do it. Now, what about women that are very sexual and young, and they stop doing it like basically after they have kids, because some guys are in that situation. They're like 35, she's 35, and she basically is like, now that I have kids, I am too tired to ever dress up and to ever look sexy. Well, usually that goes back away, like that's usually the post-baby stage. And as I talk about all the time, there are many women where doing more chores and doing more shit around the house makes them more sexy, and taking them away on, weekends away and date nights and being romantic does make them feel sexy because it gets them out of that mom identity. So this is a totally different animal. So in that case, sure, I have podcasts about that. Like, sure, you should tell your wife like that you don't like, when she wears sweatpants as much as when she wears a dress, and you wish that she would wear a dress because it's so, sexy and she looks so awesome in it and whatever. If she's still young enough that she wants to identify as a sexy woman, then a lot of women like dressing up for their husbands, and she may never have thought that it was even important to you. And if you say how sexy it is and how much you like it, and you frame it as something she's doing for you, she may find it to be very appealing. And this could happen really, at any age also with a certain kind of woman, but you're going to get less and less traction as she gets older. And the specific situation that I'm talking about here is as she ages. So there's certainly as she matures, is she going to go out like a party girl dressed in like a tube top, when she's a 35-year-old mother of kids? Probably not anymore. She is still going to try to look sexy, but in a different kind of way, maybe more classy, maybe more elegant. Who knows? She could still do it sometimes, but time marches on. But then there is a big drop off when she no longer feels very sexy, and that's not even part of her identity anymore. And as I've discussed, most women mourn this on some level. The passage of time, you don't feel like you used to. It would be so fun if you could be young for a day and dress up and be sexy and, have the male attention, have your attention as the husband. But that just it doesn't feel real. And so when it doesn't feel like it's there anymore, it seems almost ridiculous to do it. Almost as if you were the bald man that I used in the analogy and you put on a wig. Most women would be like, why are you wearing that wig? Like that's absurd. That's a wig, like that doesn't look like you, Whereas if you had premature baldness, let's say at age 30, and you figured out, I saw this YouTube, my God, they put on something, it was like glue on his head. It looked so real. And it didn't look fake at all because he's supposed to have all his hair then, in theory. Many men still have all their hair. Most men have all their hair at 30, I believe. So if you put on some fake hair, it doesn't look as discordant. But if he's 70 and he's gluing that onto his head, that looks quite a bit different. It just looks like uncanny valley. It looks like it's not supposed to be there. And it looks like somebody who has trouble accepting that time marches forward. And that is not who most healthy women want to be. They want to be somebody who can accept aging gracefully. So then you may say she's not accepting aging gracefully. All she does is the same, like sweatpants and, she looks kind of sloppy. In that case, honestly, what do you get from saying something like, oh, maybe we should go shopping. I would love to see you in, new clothes. Both of our wardrobes need an update and I would love to be involved. You're a beautiful woman and I would love to take you shopping, right? But then when you take her shopping, you can't bring her over to the hoochie mama section because she's not into being a hoochie mama. She's into probably being a grandmama or at least a mama. And she doesn't want to be a hoochie mama. So I get it totally. It's the same thing as when men, and I get this complaint from women more than anybody, that the man lazes around in sweats with holes and t-shirts that are from college. He graduated college, 30 years ago. And it's disgusting. And I get it. And it is disgusting if somebody is very sloppy. Right? So that's the opposite, not that they've changed their wardrobe, but that they kind of only kept the pieces of their wardrobe that were comfortable. And even those things are from 20 years ago. Certainly in that regard, what do you have to lose? No woman is going to divorce you over you saying, I would rather you not wear sweatpants every day. Like, can we go buy you some new clothes? She'll get mad. If anything, she'll get mad and she'd say, fuck you, So, okay, well, if you're in that kind of relationship, she probably says that, every second Tuesday. So what difference does it make? As I continue to try to exhort men in this podcast, don't be so scared of hurting your wife's feelings in service of making the marriage better overall, because nobody wants to be around somebody who looks like they are waiting to die. And if your spouse's wardrobe makes them look like they are waiting to die, that is a different situation. But if your wife no longer feels like she can physically walk around without being in pain, wearing heels and tight clothes and, underwire bras, and she's kind of done with all of the hair dyeing because it took, if you add it up, it's so depressing how many hours of your life to get your hair dyed and all of this stuff. Well, then you do have to kind of accept that people change, things happen. Life is long and there are many generation, there's shifts, like you move into another generation. You're like really young and then you're in your prime and then, your prime of earning and raising kids and all of these big life activities. And then you're moving over into the phase where a lot of people say, okay, well, what do I want out of this phase of life now that I'm not taking care of everybody else? Men frequently want to retire and devote more time to their hobbies. And women want to retire from the constancy of worrying about your looks and your weight and your this and your that. And again, on the extremes, if your wife has gained 50 pounds, of course say something. We're not doing anything. We're not moving around. We're not going to the gym. You've put on a lot of weight. I'm sure that I may have put on some weight. Why don't we start to do some things together? because at the stage where that really bothers you, it is kind of life or death for the marriage. The weight bothers men more than anything, usually. A big weight gain. Same with women. The big weight gain bothers people more than anything. Whether or not that's PC or not is immaterial. Reporting on the front lines, there's the big weight gain, by which I mean something like, a lot of pounds, like I just said, 50 pounds or something. That does make people feel like, A, this person isn't trying, they don't care, but B, like, it's not even that they look different, they feel different, and they can't do the same things as they used to do. So if you want to have an active retirement and somebody's put on a whole bunch of weight, it's very difficult for them to take big walks and to hike and to do, anything, travel, really anything. So the point is, as always, it's a balance between acceptance and speaking your truth. But if there's any part of you that really resonates with the idea that I talk about all the time, where you just have trouble with aging and you don't want your wife to look older because it means that you look older, that's the stuff to work on in therapy. Because you know what? She deserves to stop wearing heels at some point. It shouldn't be a life sentence. I used to wear the highest heels all the time. And you know what? I do so infrequently now. Maybe like a quarter of the time that I used to. And when I'm older, I'm 43. When I'm 53, I'm sure it may be 0 of the time that I used to. Because it hurts. It really does. And your body changes and you get more tired and it ruins your night, And so the equivalent of that for like everything else, the hair and the nails and the skin and the this and the that, many men have no idea. They have no idea how much time and effort goes into this stuff. And it's almost like, as I talk about in my podcast, the benefits of perimenopause and the benefits of menopause, at a certain point you feel like, oh my God, like I don't have to do it anymore. Like you shouldn't make your wife feel that a marriage is a life sentence. And you have to keep doing shit that you, were like when you were 30. You got to keep being like that when you're 50 and even older, because that's part of the contract. That's not part of the contract. It's the opposite. Most people say, it's sicker and sickness and health, and for richer and poorer, for better, for worse, for everything, through thick and thin. And that includes the natural age-related changes. And again, my analogy is the real analogy is, what if she told you could not retire? You had to keep working at the breakneck pace that you did when you were 35. You're not going to do that, and you wouldn't even feel she loved you. You really wouldn't. You feel like, man, I'm just a paycheck. And then she feels like, man, I'm just a body. I'm literally just a body. He wants me to maintain the body, and what about the soul? And that's what she will feel. And she would have a point. And I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will talk to y'all soon. As always, if you struggle or rail against ideas that are in my podcast, or you just want to, they resonate with you and you just want to go deeper on them, therapy, coaching, and what have you can always help. Obviously, reach out to me and my people first, bestlifebehavioralhealth.com. In this regard, specifically for aging, this is individual stuff, you're not going to bring it like... The last thing I would want is like a couple comes in and the main thing you want to discuss in couples counseling is that, she doesn't, wear sexy lingerie anymore. And that's like his whole problem. That's cool if that is like really where you get to after individual work. And I'll start anywhere with anybody. As I've discussed, I really feel like working with couples is very rewarding on a deep level because it keeps the whole family together, and I've discussed that in my podcast, like what motivates me to work with couples or like something like that. But the point is like, if you really feel like the whole problem in your marriage is that she's not hot enough anymore, that is an individual thing to explore before you basically kind of expose her to that, Same as with the woman. If her whole problem was that he isn't going to be working after he's 65, that's an individual therapy thing first. All right, well, hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Have a great day.